The door to the executive suite was ajar, and through it came the unmistakable sound of someone crying. Marcus Jenkins froze, hand still raised to knock, as the muffled sobs of his normally composed CEO reached his ears. What happened next would transform not just his career, but his entire approach to balancing work and fatherhood. Those 5 words she uttered through tears would become the foundation of everything that followed. Before I continue this emotional journey, if you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more life-changing narratives that remind us of our shared humanity. Your support helps us bring these powerful stories to more viewers. Marcus had been working at Horizon Technologies for just over 3 years. At 34, he was one of the company's most promising project managers, despite the challenges he faced as a single father to 8-year-old Emma. His wife Sophia had passed away from cancer when Emma was just 5, leaving Marcus to navigate the complex world of parenthood alone while trying to maintain his career trajectory. That morning had been particularly difficult. Emma had woken up with a fever, forcing Marcus to scramble for last-minute childcare. His regular babysitter was unavailable, and his parents lived 3 states away. After 20 frantic phone calls, his neighbor Mrs. Rodriguez agreed to watch Emma for the day, allowing Marcus to attend the crucial budget meeting where he was presenting the financial projections for his team's new software development project. The meeting had gone well, but Marcus couldn't shake the guilt that had been his constant companion since Sophia's death. Every time work pulled him away from Emma, especially when she was sick, it felt like a betrayal of his responsibilities as a father. Yet he needed this job, the health insurance, the stability, the promise of advancement that would secure Emma's future. It was nearly 7 p.m. when Marcus realized he'd left the updated budget projections in CEO Victoria Chen's office after their earlier meeting. He needed those numbers to finalize his report before tomorrow's board presentation. Most of the staff had already gone home, but he knew Victoria often worked late. He'd just grab the folder quickly and be on his way to pick up Emma. That's when he heard it, the soft, broken sounds of someone in distress coming from behind Victoria's partially open door. Marcus stood frozen in the hallway. Victoria Chen was legendary for her composure and strength. In the 5 years since she'd taken over as CEO, she'd transformed Horizon from a struggling mid-tier tech company into an industry leader. She was brilliant, demanding, and seemingly invincible. The idea of her crying alone in her office was so incongruous with her public persona that Marcus wondered if he was mistaken. He could have walked away. Should have, perhaps. But something in those sobs resonated with a pain he recognized all too well, the sound of someone trying desperately to hold themselves together when everything was falling apart. "Ms. Chen," he called softly, knocking gently on the door frame. "I'm sorry to disturb you. I can come back tomorrow." The crying stopped abruptly. There was a moment of silence, then Victoria's voice, slightly hoarse but attempting its usual authority, "Come in, Marcus." He entered hesitantly. Victoria sat behind her imposing desk, her normally impeccable appearance slightly disheveled. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and despite her obvious efforts to compose herself, a tissue was clutched tightly in her hand. "I just needed to grab the budget folder," Marcus explained awkwardly, gesturing to the blue folder on the corner of her desk. "I didn't mean to intrude." Victoria nodded, then to his surprise, let out a small, bitter laugh. Perfect timing, actually. The great Victoria Chen having a complete breakdown right before the biggest board meeting of the year. "I'm sure that inspires confidence in my leadership." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "Everyone has moments, Ms. Chen. It doesn't change how effective you are as a CEO." She looked at him then, really looked at him, with an intensity that made him want to step back. "How's your daughter, Marcus?" "Emma, right? I heard she was sick today." The question caught him off guard. He'd mentioned Emma's illness only to his immediate supervisor when explaining why he might be late that morning. He hadn't expected the CEO to know or remember such a detail. "She's better, thank you. Just a fever. My neighbor is watching her." Victoria nodded, then gestured to the chair across from her desk. "Sit down for a moment, would you?" It wasn't really a request. Marcus sat, wondering what this was about and increasingly anxious about getting back to Emma. Victoria took a deep breath. "Do you know what today is, Marcus?" He quickly ran through the company calendar in his mind. "The quarterly reports are due tomorrow, and the board meeting." "It's my son's birthday," she interrupted quietly. "He would have been 12 today." Marcus felt a chill run through him. "Would have been?" Victoria's composure cracked again, just slightly. "He died 3 years ago. Leukemia. It was aggressive. From diagnosis to..." She couldn't finish the sentence. "I'm so sorry," Marcus said, the words feeling wholly inadequate. "I had no idea you had a son. Few people do. I was very private about it. Even during his illness, I kept working. Delegated when I had to be at the hospital, took calls from his room during treatments." Her voice hardened. "I told myself I was being strong. Providing for him. Securing our future." She picked up a small frame from her desk that Marcus had never noticed before, turning it so he could see the photo of a smiling boy with Victoria's eyes and dimples. His name was Ethan. He loved space and dinosaurs and terrible puns that made me groan. A ghost of a smile crossed her face. "The day before he died, I was on a conference call while sitting next to his hospital bed. He was so weak by then, but he wrote me a note because he didn't want to interrupt my call." Victoria opened her desk drawer and pulled out a folded, worn piece of paper. She didn't show it to Marcus, just held it like it was something precious and fragile. It said, "Mom, it's okay to just be here with me." Her voice broke on the last word. "My 9-year-old son had to give me permission to just be his mother instead of the CEO for his final hours." The silence that followed was heavy with grief. Marcus thought of Emma, of all the school plays and parent-teacher conferences he'd missed, the bedtime stories cut short because of late-night emails. Finally, Victoria looked up at him, tears flowing freely now, and spoke the 5 words that would change everything: "Don't make the same mistake." Those 5 simple words hit Marcus with the force of a physical blow. In Victoria's tear-filled eyes, he saw a reflection of his possible future, successful, respected, wealthy perhaps, but haunted by irretrievable moments lost with the person who mattered most. "I see so much of myself in you, Marcus," Victoria continued. "The dedication, the drive, the talent. But I also see the same signs I ignored, the exhaustion, the guilt, the constant juggling act. You're at a crossroads I passed years ago, and I chose wrong." Marcus sat in stunned silence, his mind racing. For years, he'd been pushing himself to the limit, convinced that his dedication to work was ultimately for Emma's benefit. He'd told himself that the missed recitals and the nights when he was too tired to do more than heat up a frozen dinner were temporary sacrifices for a better future. But what if that future never came? Or worse, what if it came at too high a cost? "Why are you telling me this?" he finally asked. Victoria wiped her eyes, visibly pulling herself back together. "Because tomorrow at the board meeting, I'm announcing a major company restructuring. Part of that includes a new position, Vice President of Project Development. Your name is at the top of my recommendation list." Marcus felt a surge of conflicting emotions: pride, excitement, anxiety. It was the promotion he'd been working toward since joining Horizon, a significant step up in both responsibility and compensation. "It's a demanding role," Victoria continued. "More travel, longer hours, higher stakes. Before today, I wouldn't have thought twice about offering it to you, expecting you to make it work somehow with your family situation." She carefully refolded the note from her son and returned it to her drawer. "But I can't do that anymore. Not without telling you what it might really cost." Marcus thought of Emma waiting at Mrs. Rodriguez's apartment, probably wondering why her dad was late again. He thought of the science fair coming up next month that she was so excited about, and how he'd already been mentally preparing to miss it because of the quarterly planning sessions. "What are you saying? That you're not offering me the position?" Victoria shook her head. "I'm saying I want to offer you a different version of it. One that includes flexible hours, reduced travel requirements, and the option to work remotely 2 days a week. It would be a new model for our executive team, but I think it's time Horizon recognized that our employees' greatest strengths often come from their lives outside these walls, not despite them." Marcus stared at her in disbelief. "Why would you do that?" "The board. The board will adapt," Victoria said firmly, a flash of her usual authority returning. "I've spent 3 years drowning in regret, Marcus. I can't bring Ethan back. But I can stop perpetuating a system that forces parents to choose between being good at their jobs and being present for their children." She stood up, signaling the end of their conversation. "Take the weekend to think about it. Talk to Emma. Figure out what balance looks like for you. The job will be structured around that reality, not the other way around." As Marcus rose to leave, still processing everything he'd heard, Victoria added softly, "And Marcus? Go home. The budget can wait until morning." That night, as Marcus sat on the edge of Emma's bed, listening to her excited chatter about the science experiment Mrs. Rodriguez had helped her with, he felt a weight lifting that he hadn't even realized he'd been carrying. For the first time since Sophia died, he allowed himself to fully inhabit the moment, not mentally cataloging the work waiting for him or calculating how soon he could reasonably end the conversation. Over the following weeks, the changes at Horizon Technologies made headlines in the business press. Victoria Chen's announcement of a comprehensive work-life integration program, starting with the executive team and extending throughout the company, was met with initial skepticism from industry analysts but enthusiastic support from employees. Marcus accepted the modified VP position, becoming the test case for Victoria's new vision. It wasn't always smooth sailing. There were days when he struggled to balance his responsibilities, when deadlines loomed and Emma needed him simultaneously. But the difference was that now these weren't problems he had to solve alone, in secret, pretending that his personal life never affected his work. 6 months later, Marcus found himself once again outside Victoria's office, this time with Emma beside him. It was the company's first family day, another of Victoria's innovations, and the hallways of Horizon were filled with children's laughter and the proud introductions of parents showing off both their families and their workplace. Victoria greeted them warmly, her eyes lighting up as Emma enthusiastically described her science fair project, which had won first place, with her father cheering in the front row. "You know," Victoria said to Emma, "we have a summer internship program for high school students interested in technology. It's a few years away for you, but something to think about." As Emma chatted with Victoria's assistant about the 3D printers in the design lab, Victoria turned to Marcus. "How's it going?" "Really?" Marcus smiled, the exhaustion in his eyes now balanced with a contentment that had been missing before. "It's challenging. Some days I feel like I'm not doing either job perfectly." "Perfect is the enemy of good," Victoria replied. "And from where I stand, you're doing both jobs better than most." "I wouldn't be able to without the changes you've made," Marcus said. "The flexible schedule, the remote work options, they've made all the difference." Victoria's gaze drifted to the photo of Ethan on her desk. "I've been visiting schools, you know. Talking to business students about leadership and what it really means. I tell them Ethan's story. I tell them about our conversation that night." She looked back at Marcus and Emma, a bittersweet smile on her face. "I can't change the past. But every time I see you leave early for a school event, or when I hear about other companies adopting our policies, I think maybe Ethan would be proud. That maybe his short life is still creating ripples." As Marcus watched Emma excitedly exploring the office that was now a part of her world rather than a competitor for her father's attention, he understood completely what Victoria meant. The 5 words she had spoken to him that night, "Don't make the same mistake," had indeed changed his life forever, but their impact extended far beyond just him and Emma. Those words had sparked a transformation that was slowly spreading throughout Horizon and beyond, challenging the false dichotomy between professional success and personal fulfillment. It wasn't about working less, but about acknowledging that the boundaries between work and life were permeable, and that strength could be found in that integration rather than in artificial separation. 3 years later, Horizon Technologies was recognized as one of the top companies for work-life balance in the industry, with retention rates and productivity metrics that defied the skeptics' predictions. Victoria and Marcus had become sought-after speakers on corporate culture transformation, sharing their story, her tragedy and his near-miss, as a powerful testament to the possibility of change. On the anniversary of their fateful conversation, Marcus knocked on Victoria's door again, this time with purpose rather than hesitation. "Come in," she called, and he found her not in tears but surrounded by charts and graphs for their upcoming presentation to a consortium of tech companies interested in implementing similar policies. "I brought you something," Marcus said, placing a small wrapped package on her desk. Victoria opened it to find a simple silver frame. Inside was a photograph taken at the company picnic the previous month, Victoria kneeling between Emma and another child, all three laughing as they attempted to build a paper airplane. The other child was Mia, a 7-year-old girl Victoria had adopted the previous year. After years of channeling her grief into changing Horizon's corporate culture, she had finally taken the step of opening her heart to motherhood again, this time with the wisdom and perspective to truly prioritize what mattered. "Thank you," Victoria said softly, tracing the edge of the frame. "For this, and for everything else." Marcus shook his head. "I'm the one who should be thanking you. Those 5 words you said to me that night, they didn't just change my life. They saved it." Victoria placed the new frame beside Ethan's photo. "He would have been 15 this year," she said, her voice steady now when she spoke of him. "I used to imagine all the things he was missing by not being here. Now I try to focus on all the things that exist because he was here, even if only for a short time." She gestured to the photo of herself with Mia and Emma. "Including this. Including her. Including the thousands of parents who now have a different option than the one I thought was my only choice." As Marcus left Victoria's office that day, he reflected on how a moment of raw vulnerability between two people, a grieving CEO and an overwhelmed single father, had catalyzed changes that were now helping countless families. It was a powerful reminder that sometimes our most profound impacts come not from our successes but from our willingness to acknowledge our struggles and learn from our mistakes. For anyone watching this who feels trapped between the demands of work and the irreplaceable moments of family life, remember Victoria's 5 words: don't make the same mistake. It's never too late to reassess, to realign your priorities, to advocate for change in your workplace, or to simply be more fully present in the moments that matter most. The true measure of success isn't found in promotions or profit margins, but in the lives we touch and the love we share along the way. Victoria and Marcus discovered this truth through different paths, one through devastating loss, the other through a timely intervention, but both emerged with the same powerful understanding, that a life well lived requires courage not just in professional challenges, but in the vulnerable, messy, beautiful work of human connection. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe to our channel for more content that explores the profound moments that shape our lives. Share your own experiences in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today.